Nazis and communists are on the left. So who's right? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Ali Alex here. This is a very important video I have to make. And the point of this video is, one, is to just stop labeling people as the left and right. And two, is for people to understand, hopefully if you're watching this, you're probably in a democratic or republic country, with, you do have, your voice does matter, your vote does matter a little bit. So when it comes to that, I'd rather people look at the candidates and their platform and what they stand for, rather than the labels of right, left, Republican, this. Go for the one you agree with the most and the one you see yourself with, or the one you think should lead your country, not the one that you're like, well, he or she is on the left, I'm gonna vote for her, or he or she is on the right, well, he or she supports libertarian, I'm gonna, like, don't, just do for your values, and that's a very important thing. And another point of this video is I'm gonna refer you to this video from now on. If you're my subscriber, if you're not, please subscribe and tell me how I can improve my videos. But I'm gonna use this video from now to refer, because I'm gonna stop using the label right and left, because I believe those labels are harmful, and not like harmful, like, oh, my feelings are gonna be hurt. No, but in harmful as in, we need to actually look at individuals more important, and there is more values that someone who's, kind of on the traditional left would agree with on the right, and blah blah blah. And I'm not just about centrists or moderates, but I'm just talking about a lot of people could be actually agree with like 5 things from the right and then 1 thing from the left, and that's the problem. What is the right and left? And that's another whole point of this whole video, because what you have to understand, Nazi stands for National Socialists. Communists, one of the former famous times of USSR, they were the United Socialist Republic. So you can see literally both Hitler and Stalin were both socialists. Mussolini, one of the famous fascists, he was a Marxist. He supported socialism. So, and that's one of the things that always gets flipped. Usually people think of socialism as left and capitalism as right. Which, that's actually one thing I'm going to use from now on when we're talking about this. Yes, you could, but instead of saying right and left, I'd rather just use capitalism and socialism. But the problem is, when you label right someone who's a far right, a Nazi, that's not true, because Nazis were literally National Socialists. That's what Nazi stands for. Google it if you don't believe me. And when it comes to, so to answer anyone's question, what's the difference between the Nazis and communists if they're both economically the same? Well, first of all, economically they're extremely similar. There's a tiny bit of difference that I don't want to get into. That's for a whole different video. But the biggest difference is when it came to nationalism. And look at the name. Nazis were National Socialists. They kind of believed in the superior German race. Not culture, race. Although technically they would say their culture is better too. But just because you think someone's culture is better than another culture does not make you a racist, because that's culture. There's a different thing. And I'm personally, I can actually advocate for people who believe there are cultures superior to other cultures, because there are logical reasons for why some cultures are better, just by looking at examples. Now, when it comes to Soviets, or the communists at the time, that were the USSR, so United Socialist Republic. So that's literally different. Nazis were nationalist socialists. The USSR was it's a United Socialist. Let me actually get the exact SSR, because I don't want to be wrong about any of this. So it was Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So it's a union versus national. So that's literally the difference between the communists and Nazis. Even though nowadays people think of communists as far left and Nazis as far right. That is very wrong. When it comes to the original meaning of these two, it was between 1789 and 1799 in the French Parliament, and it's where people sat. So people who usually sat on the left side of the Parliament were usually people who kind of supported social reform and civil liberties, while people who were on the right, they were kind of they were merely the aristocracy, and they supported the king, and they were royalists, while the left were more like commoners. That's kind of where that came. But see, nowadays, if you look at USA, people who support Republicans are generally labeled as right, and people who support Democrats are generally labeled as left. And the funny thing is, some people actually label both of them as both of them being right. Just Democrats are less right, and by right I'm talking about it, and Republicans are more right wing. Which there's some arguments for that, but this also proves my original point of how complicated this is and why we should even just stop labeling right wing and left wing, because the thing is, Democrats generally, or sorry, the left. See, I already want to stop, and I already accidentally say Democrats. But the left generally want more government and social reform, while the Republicans want less government and personal freedom. But then what if I'm a person who wants less government, but also I want some social liberties as well? See, so if we, and I think one of the best ways to look at this whole thing is revolution versus keep saying the same. So liberal and conservative. Conservative, like conserve, and liberal meaning just liberalize and revolution. That's kind of the extreme ways of looking. So conserve is like bring everything down, bring everything to back the way it was, and exact the same. While liberal would be like liberalize, free, everybody just revolution. And to me, even I mean that's a good way of extreme looking at it. But again, I don't want to look at it that way either. Even though I just said that's the best way. I think we should stop using these labels and just try to look at different policies. Now, some people nowadays, this political compass is actually getting quite popular, and they tend to say, "Oh, look at this. So the right is, capitalism, left is socialism, and then the up is authoritarianism or fascism, and down is anarchy." Now, the problem with that is decent, but what if you're the kind of person who, likes your country? Because the problem is one of the questions in the political compass test is actually my nation's great. So if you agree with that, that kind of puts you as authoritarian. That's a problem. Because what if you do agree with the fact that your nation is great, and what if you agree with the fact that your culture is better than other cultures, but you also agree with globalism? See, so, and stuff like that is where even that's wrong. And where does the environment go in all this? What if I agree that what if I know that global warming isn't a myth? But what if I think that we shouldn't tax people to fix global warming? Or what if I actually think we should tax people to fix environmental regulations? See, these questions are problems. And some of the reasons that I hate these labels, and I'm personally going to stop using these labels. There's another website that for a while I thought it was even better. It was called 8 Values. And see, this website actually went with 8 different values, and it gave you a score based on these. So it gave you 4 spectrums and gave you a score based on what side are you on. Now, even that side, even though I think it's better, because now instead of just a compass, there's actually 8 different values, even though a website has small flaws. But this website, to me, is the closest thing we have so far to a good spectrum. Now, what I want you to do, I'm going to leave the link of this test in the description below. So I don't think you should watch this video anymore. Do this quiz and see where you are, because then I'm going to explain the 8 values. So please go ahead and do it, and you can come back to this video later. Now, for the people that stayed, the 8 values go. The first one is economic, so equality versus markets. Equality. Those with higher equality scores believe that the economy should distribute value evenly amongst the populace. They tend to support progressive tax codes, social programs, and at high values socialism. And on the other side, markets. And again, the other side of economic is those with higher market values believe that the economy should be focused on rapid growth. They tend to support lower taxes, privatization, deregulation, and at high rates, laissez-faire capitalism. It's another way of free market capitalism. Now, I don't like how they use the word equality in markets, because if you just hear that word, you kind of might think, okay, equality is better. I would have preferred equality versus free market, or at least freedom, because the thing is, I'm actually going to post my results in the description below as well. Or I could just tell you, I won't, like my exact percentages I'll put in the description, but in terms of the label this was giving it gave me centrist. And it makes sense. Based on what I study and think, I do saw myself as a centrist economically. So, but the problem with this is equality markets, it kind of seems like equality is a good thing and market is a bad thing. And I don't like that label because people who it's kind of like, this is a good one. I would have preferred if they put socialism versus capitalism, because this is the one where it's kind of like which one do you support mainly. But whatever, they use the label. That's why I was like, just do the quiz, then watch this video, because I don't want to. Hearing the labels is going to ruin kind of things for you. Okay, next one is diplomatic. It's nation versus globe. Those with higher nation scores are patriotic and nationalist. They often believe that an aggressive foreign policy, valuing the military strength, sovereignty, and at high values territorial expansion. Okay, and again, this is another thing I really liked about this values, because it's kind of like nationalist versus globalist. But not even that, because some people say globalist and try to extend and be, you know, take what's called, they tend to be fascist, because even though they believe, we're all equal, they want to put extra laws on people who disagree and wrong think. So this is why I'm gonna keep repeating this so many times. I hate these labels, and that's why you should try to think of yourself as an individual and vote for things that you agree with, and not with what you want to go. Not with what the labels, and not with what people tell you. Like, try to think for yourself. Discuss with other people. By all means, watch videos, discuss, but don't go for it because that's the cool thing, or that's, or even don't even go for it just to say, oh, well, she's bad, but not bad as him, or he's bad, but not bad as her. Because a lot of nations actually have measures for when a candidate doesn't get enough votes. Like, for example, I mean, I know the voting process isn't always perfect, but there are good things in it. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's really good, and we should try to fix that. But for now, don't just not vote, or actually, not voting. This is going to be a whole different video, but just like, for example, I'm just using an example. In U.S., if a candidate doesn't get 270 electoral college votes, what's going to happen is, I believe, don't quote me on this one, but the House or the Senate, so one of them picks the president and the House picks the vice president. So literally, if Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton did not have one of them did not get 270, we would have had possibly Hillary Clinton as president, Donald Trump as vice president. You literally had to make both houses work together. That is good and bad the way you think. That's good and bad at the same time, and that's a whole different argument. But at least you didn't vote to prevent anything. You voted for your thing. And actually, U.S. has good third-party rules too. Again, it's not perfect, but like if libertarians actually got 5% of the electoral college votes, they would have received 10 million U.S. dollars, or a large sum of money for the next election. So they would have been a stronger party. And same with Canada. Canada has kind of a majority. They're not the same. It's not the same as a republic. Canada's constitutional monarchy / democracy. I say this because I'm against it. And with them, if the candidate you voted for didn't win, but the candidate that did win didn't have enough vote, he would get like a minority government. So there are balances stuff, and I know it's not perfect. I actually personally have some ideas to try to make it better, and I do want to discuss this with others and try to get my voice out there and try to fix these things. But for now, there are still good things in it that we can kind of play with. So seriously, don't vote out of fear. Don't vote. And right now it's kind of past some elections, but I hope you keep this in mind for the future. Just save this and watch in the future. Don't always vote for out of fear for your friends. Just try to think more. Anyway, I went on a rant there, but I'm going to continue with the diplomatic. So first it was nation, and the other one is globe. Those with higher globe scores are cosmopolitan and globalist. They often believe in a peaceful foreign policy, emphasizing diplomacy, cooperation, integration, and at high values, a world government. That could be I mean, some people actually could agree with that, but that could also be a bad thing. Personally, I think it's a bad thing, but that's a whole. This is good for discussion. In fact, with all these skills, with the 8 values quiz, the 4 skills it gives you. Personally, I think a couple of them, the center would be one of the best solutions for world problems, but maybe for a couple of them, extreme right or extreme left would actually be a better solution. And even maybe for all of them, center is the best. Maybe. I mean, personally, I don't think so, because I think some of them it's not good to be in the center, but this is stuff that needs to be discussed. And that's actually one of my things I want to advocate for is absolute free speech, where nothing ever gets silenced. That's the one thing that I mean, it wouldn't really hurt anybody because it's just speech. It doesn't so much hurt may hurt, won't break my bones. Or, God, it's a quote. I'm not Canadian. I wasn't born in Canada. I don't know this. I mean, I'm Canadian, but I don't know the quote. Anyway, so absolute free speech. I mean, the only person that hurts is just literally the elite or the elite globalist people in power who want to control. That's like literally the only ones that hurt, which we are about them. Well, let's continue. The next one is state. So it's liberty versus authority. Liberty. Those with higher liberty scores believe in a strong civil liberties. They tend to support democracy and oppose state intervention in personal life. Note that this refers to civil liberties, not economic liberties. And then authority is those with higher authority scores believe in stronger state power. They tend to support state intervention in personal lives, government events, and high value censorship or even autocracy. So the state one. This is actually a general view of these. What generally would be like this, like people who use labels would say like, oh, Democrats, they want more government control on economic, more freedom on social stuff. So let gay people marry, whatever, but control the economy, tax reform, and while Republicans generally say no, let's no gay marriage, let's have more social control, but leave the economy, free market capitalism. And then libertarians, kind of the third most popular party in the U.S., would say free both. Stay out of my gay marriage, let me smoke marijuana. Stay out of let me free market capitalism. But that's generally. But the funny thing is, Donald Trump is a very good example. He's not like the traditional Republican. He kind of wants to reform Obamacare and make his own free healthcare. So that's kind of not what Republicans would really go. Free healthcare is not something Republicans would go for because that's kind of not really a capitalist thing. Because free healthcare would require some people to raise taxes. Although Donald Trump still lowered taxes way more than Hillary and Bernie and even Obama, but still he wouldn't lower taxes as much as usual Republicans do. And that's why, for the 50th time, I hate these labels. Just stop using them. So, and the last value of this is authority versus tradition. And this is the society scale of the 8 values. So, tradition. Those with higher traditional scores believe traditional values and a strict adherence to moral code. Though not always, they are usually religious and support status quo or the status quo ante. Progress. This is against society. So, progress. Those with higher progress scores believe in social change and rationality. Though not always, they are usually secular or atheists and support environmental actions and scientific or technological research. And also at the end of the quiz, when you do the quiz, you're going to get a closest match thing. It's kind of like, it's a closest match they say to your ideology, but even they admit, the website admit that it could not even be what you are, but just the values are usually what you are. Now, I mean, that's one of the things, so like I said, so I'm very nice. I actually apologize if I do speak fast or I do have slight autism. But, so this is actually a conversation I've had that kind of inspired this on a YouTube comment. Unfortunately, the video is removed. Fucking wish I screenshot it. But basically, I said, oh no, I said, I think too much nationalism is bad. And someone who was probably a very right-wing person said, oh, fuck you, we're the best. Like, nationalism's not a bad thing. And then, so another person liked, or I think they liked but they praised my comment. They replied, said, yeah, all cultures are equal. But then I replied to that person, like, no, I think some cultures are the best, like, especially Western cultures who preach and teach, freedom, are usually better than some cultures who are kind of against them. It's kind of usually in Middle Eastern culture and stuff like that. And that person replied to me and was like, oh, you're a Nazi or fascist, whatever. So that's kind of one of the things. People, and some people just say that's kind of the life of libertarians, where you say something the left hates you and the right hates you. But that's actually another thing, and another solution I have to just fixing this whole left and right label is centrists and moderates, people who tend to kind of agree with both sides. They actually tend to get attacked more, and they tend to be hated more because people on those sides usually end up attacking you. So both sides tend to attack you, and they tend to not even realize their commonality that they attack you. And this is not a commonality like the fact that Hitler and Stalin would agree with a lot of their social policies. except it would, Hitler's racist. Um, but it's the fact that people who are literally so disagree, who usually vote Republican or vote Democrat, they would actually both attack me or anyone who's moderate centrist, and they wouldn't like each other, so they wouldn't go with the whole enemy of my enemy is my friend. They would just attack me and attack each other. So centrists and moderates, I don't want to my own anything, but they tend to actually bring some of the best solutions to economic issues and social issues. But the problem is they get attacked by a lot of people. Like, and actually, one of the biggest, most famous examples of an assassination of a moderate was actually Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who uh, was what's called assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, the Serbian terrorist that started World War One. What happened is Archduke Franz Ferdinand was actually a moderate. Like basically, he was the nephew of the leader of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. However, he kind of agreed with the Serbians. I was like, maybe we should have an Austro-Hungarian Serbian Empire. We should. I see the argument, you know. So the funny thing is, he was a moderate person, and he was the one who was assassinated. And unfortunately, though, there is no real proof that he was assassinated. I mean, the reason he was assassinated was the fact that he was, the nephew of the Austro-Hungarian Empire leader. But the sad thing is, he was actually one of the people who could have prevented World War One, which was a war that shouldn't have happened. It was just small conflicts that just led to huge war just because of alliances that you had to be roped in if someone attacked your side. So he's actually one of the few people who, if he was alive, he would have probably prevented World War One, and he would have said, "Hey, no, Serbia, maybe we should like if he survived like literally the assassination attempt, there's a possibility that he could have actually advocated like, no, it's the Serbians, maybe we should merge the empires and like be diplomatic and be an Austro-Serbian Hungarian Empire, maybe we could have team up and just been one empire and made everybody happy." So that's actually a sad thing, that people like him, and now usually a lot of YouTubers who kind of have centrist views on some issues, and again that could be diplomatic or anything, foreign affair, economic, social, even environment. There's so many different issues, and there are people who kind of agree with both sides or are centrist in some ways, and those just tend to be attacked by the most people, and those are the people I'm trying to stand up for. And I think those are the people we should all try to praise instead of fight and silence. And I mean that's one of the reasons I didn't like Milo Yiannopoulos, because I mean at least he said Republicans and Libertarians, but then he kind of threw out the Democrats, and that's kind of, I don't like that, because there is good in Democrats too. Unfortunately nowadays a lot of fascist silencing is done by the Democrats, wanting to silence. And see, one of the funniest thing is about the whole freedom thing, that it gets even more complicated, that can't be placed on a spectrum, is literally the argument for gay marriage versus religious rights. There was actually a very famous example of this, where there was a gay couple who went to a Christian bakery, and they asked for a cake, and the Christian baker said, no, my religion doesn't support gays, so no, we're not going to bake you. And they took it to the state, they sued them, and then they ended up losing lots of money. So that's where kind of the whole even social freedom versus how much freedom, how much authority comes to the question. Who's more of a fascist authoritarian? Someone who says, well, that person deserves religious rights, they have a right to practice religion, so therefore they have a right to not serve you cake. But then another person would say, oh, gay people are people too, they have a right to be served. So they should have to be. So both sides make good point. Personally, I would have went with the religion one, not because I don't support gay marriage. I just do support gay marriage. However, when it comes to something like that, what happened was a very wrong thing, where they ended up taking it to the government, to the state, to the authority, forcing them. Actually, well, they didn't end up forcing them making gay, but they ended up suing them for tons of money, And so that's kind of more authoritarian to me than if literally the couple could have just went to a different bakery. And that's one of the good things about capitalism, which I did say I'm economically centrist, but there are good in capitalism. It's like, okay, that couple didn't give you cake. Well, they're the idiots for not making money off you. Go to a different bakery, give them your money and services, and they'll make you cake. Like, that's literally one of the best solutions. And that's why the funny thing is, generally, people who support capitalism tend to actually be more freedom supporters. Except for the ones that support capitalism and oppose gay marriage. Okay, maybe they're not because they're opposing gay marriage. But true capitalism has nothing to do with society. Capitalism is an economic system that just says less government. I mean, capitalism is a whole different video, but just capitalism has nothing with social stuff. It's not something with society. So capitalism is just an economic system of how something should be run. But the problem is, some people use capitalism, say, "Oh, capitalism opposes gay marriage. Capitalism is evil, fascist." None of that's true. The fascists weren't capitalists. Fascists were just. I mean, there are dictators. Was one Chilean dictator that supported capitalism. Like, capitalism had the least amount of dictators. Capitalism believes in the most freedom. But then the problem is, it is possible to not support capitalism, but also support freedom. That is possible. All these things are possible, but sometimes you gotta look at history. And history shows us too much government power would end up causing a lot of deaths and dictators. In fact, Hitler may have caused the biggest war, but Stalin's communism killed more people. So who's really history's most evil person? So the problem with this video ended up being longer than what I wanted, because there's a lot of points I need to get across, and what you need to understand, this is the video I'm going to use that a part of me just thinks I shouldn't even upload because there's too many rants, but there's so many things, which proves my original point of people are just too complicated to just label them as right and left. So the best thing is not to do that and just go for, people who are capitalists are wrong because blah blah blah, or people who support socialism are wrong, blah blah blah. That's a better way, because you could be a national socialism like the Nazis, or you could be a global socialism like the communists, and you could have different variations of that. So you can call yourself center socialist. Like, the best thing to do is just use specific policies, and that's why, despite me being a big fan of Paul Joseph Watson, Competing Forever, I'm actually subscribed to him. I watch him a lot. I just hate whenever anybody uses the labels left and right, because there are so many things more complicated than this, that whenever you just label it as left, you're putting a lot of people in the same group that would probably even agree with you a little bit. And so but see, SJWs, that's a good label because they're actually a group. And the problem with SJWs, I gotta make so many videos because I don't want to make this one too long, but those labels are better, even though, again, I'm a person who doesn't want a lot of those, but I just hate seeing so many of my favorite YouTubers, just political commentators I just love watching. And I'm still subscribed to, by the way. It's not really a rant, like I'm unsubscribing. But I just hate when you use the word left and the right, because there's so many things. And sometimes it doesn't make me understand exactly where they're coming from, although generally they tend to explain it pretty well. But unless you're talking about US, then okay, if they're saying left, they'll probably think Democrats. But even Democrats, you saw they end up being Bernie's versus Hillary's, but generally, yeah, maybe Bernie's and Hillary's have some things on the agree, but even there were some Bernie supporters who voted for Trump, so I just honestly wish that they would stop using this label and just use more, better terms that are more direct, rather than so many broad terms like the left and the right, or even 3 terms like left, right, and center. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please ask me any question in the comments below. I will answer all of them. And please subscribe, or if you're not going to subscribe, just tell me what I think. What do you think I should do to improve videos? And remember, my name is Ali Alex, and I will be the doctor that's going to cure the cancer known as Clemens.